Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Double Leg Pull. Today I have a guest star, Amy Kellow, my lovely friend from England. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Andrea.
And Amy's here today because this one was actually her brilliant suggestion. The two exercises we're going to look at today are the butterfly in the standing arm springs on the Cadillac and how that exercise can help you with the saw on the mat. I was very intrigued to try this Beyond the Double Leg Pull suggestion that Amy had because I find the saw pretty challenging to teach, and it's nice to have another exercise that will sort of do your work for you so you don't have to keep harping at your client and telling them all the same things and nothing happens. So generally when people do the saw, there's a lot of like arms going around, but there's not a lot of movement in the waistline. And so I really was interested to try the butterfly because that's all about lifting and moving the waistline. So I thought, that would be such a fun help for the saw. Used to be my favorite, or at least fun, but now I'm like, so complicated.
And I think that you nail it and at a certain point in your mat workout, and then you come back to it another couple of years later and it's like, oh, like I've really been twisting for my arms all this time.
Yeah, yes. Suddenly I don't go anywhere.
Oh, it is really about my waist. And it's about, it's a twist.
Oh, yes. So we're going to look at an exercise on the Cadillac that's going to help us to get more twist out of our saw. Stay tuned. So here we are at the Cadillac, and Amy is going to help me to find the most lift and twist in my butterfly exercise so that I'll have more in the tank, shall we say, for the saw on the mat. So I'm ready, Amy.
Okay, go ahead and stand and connect your springs.
Okay.
Okay, I want you to begin to feel the connection from your waist and your back through the arms, but at the same time feel that same connection grounding you down into the floor. So you have your two-way stretch from the moment you pick up those springs.
Oh, I love that.
And then you're going to start to reach out into the springs and use that twist of the waist to guide the springs and your arms around. Now keep reaching out from the waist, think out, and keep reaching that right arm down into the spring. Now as you come out of it, reach deeper into the spring and come around back to center. And again, think about your downward reach and the upward reach, staying connected and keeping you anchored in one place. Find the reach. Now think about the twist of the saw here as well, and begin to think about the reach through the arm, and then reach deeper as you bring yourself back up. So begin to think about how the saw feels whilst you're doing the exercise.
Okay.
Ground through the lower body in order to twist. Find the reach from the back into your springs through the arms. And reach a little further as you return. Back to center, and from the waist, reach through the arms. Really ground through the lower body, so use the same anchoring in your back to ground down, and then reach out. Continue to reach into the springs and return. How did that feel?
Oh, it actually felt really good, and I loved every time that you mentioned, I don't know where to talk to you. I love every time that you remind me that the goal is saw, and that to think about that lift, because it's easy when you're standing to not think of that lift that you need in a seated position.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. I think that's one of the, and sometimes it's easier to find in the standing, isn't it? You can really find the grounding down.
Yes.
In order to feel the length out, which is really, really hard in the saw.
Yeah, because you've got more of a push in the opposite direction when you're standing, which you don't. It's not really the same in the saw, or it doesn't feel as helpful.
Yeah, it's not helpful.
Yes,
in the saw, absolutely.
Yes. But no, that felt really nice, and I I could really notice the tendencies to lose the reach here that are the same ones in the saw. Imagine that. Oh my gosh, the same thing's happening in the other exercise. Yeah, especially like the arm that goes back, you know, and how it goes down in the saw. I feel like there's the moment of disconnect, and it's sort of the same thing that can happen here.
Yeah, and it's almost on that moment where you're going to start to return.
Mm-hmm.
And it, you know, everyone just kind of in their mat just comes, right back up.
Right.
Without working that reach on the return.
Right. That, yeah, I feel like we all work for the first part of saw, and then we're just like, okay, back. And then work again. Yeah. Oh, that was super helpful.
That was good.
Yeah. Now we're going to take it to the saw and see if I can sort of avoid those pitfalls that I felt here so tangibly.
Let's do it.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so we saw how Andrea managed to find the reach of her arms from her back and her waist in the butterfly. And we're going to take that into making the saw even better. So Andrea, reach your arms out to the sides as if you're reaching from the springs. So Kate, take that reach from your back. Now, keeping the reach into the springs, twist your body around. Good. And then as soon as you reach over, continue to reach into the spring as if you're still doing the connection through from the back. And as you come up, continue to reach. Take the arms around. And again, lengthen from the back, reach into the springs, reach towards your toe. Continue the reach into the springs and reach and come up. How does that feel?
Ooh, that feels really wonderful. And you kept encouraging me to keep thinking about the springs, especially when I wanted to drop that, you know, in the transition moments, coming up and going to the other side.
Cool.
Yeah, that was the most helpful because that's the point where, you know, you want to rest but I was like, oh no, I have springs. Yes, or collapse, exactly. My favorite thing to do in Pilates. Thank you. How did you discover this sort of helper exercise?
Well, I think it was when we were having our Skype lesson together. And for me, it's always about translating the feeling of one exercise into another. Mm-hmm. And always doing that in taking it from like one piece of apparatus to the mat, I always find quite challenging. And I think the saw is actually one of the most challenging exercises to maintain that connection into. Yes.
I used to rather like the saw. I thought it was sort of fun, but now I feel like, so many places to lose your stuff, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when you're teaching and you watch people and there's those moments where the shoulders lift, the hip lifts, and you're trying to find ways to describe that. And we teach a lot of mat classes without clients taking any sessions on the apparatus, so we have to be a little bit more ingenious about trying to make descriptions from the pieces of apparatus and make it work on the mat. And to imagine pushing against something and reaching from the spring has really helped all of our clients.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Amy. This was really helpful. I always love when there's an exercise that can, you know, it's the double leg pull, but it's this other exercise that'll help us.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much for being a guest star.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.